The knock on the door didn't sound angry or loud, but somehow it felt heavier than any shout I had ever heard, like the final warning before a life quietly collapses. My heart was already sinking even before I opened it, because deep down I knew why she was standing there with that calm, unreadable face, holding a small notebook against her chest like a shield. The words she said were simple and steady, about rent being overdue, about responsibilities, about how kindness could not replace obligations forever, and as I looked at her standing in the dim hallway light, tired eyes hiding behind strength, one impossible thought rose in my mind, something reckless yet honest, something that could either ruin me or save us both, and I found myself wondering if there was something better I could offer than money. Before this story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that happen between broken people, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across distances. My name is Daniel Harper, and a year ago I was not the kind of man anyone would trust with promises. I had moved into that old brick apartment building after my life folded in on itself, after my small repair shop went bankrupt, after my engagement ended not with a dramatic fight but with silence and packed boxes. The apartment was cheap, the walls thin, the stairs always smelled faintly of dust and old paint, but it was a roof, and at the time, that felt like enough. The owner of the building, Emily Carter, was younger than I expected when I first met her, carrying herself with a quiet authority that didn't need raised voices. She had inherited the building from her father, a man known in the neighborhood for helping tenants during hard times, and everyone said Emily had his heart but also his discipline. At first, things were simple. I paid rent on time, kept my head down, and tried to rebuild my life one small step at a time. But hope is fragile when money is scarce, and after a few slow months, one missed payment turned into two, and then into a weight that pressed on my chest every night as I lay awake staring at cracks in the ceiling. Emily never harassed me. She never embarrassed me in front of neighbors. She simply checked in, politely, firmly, reminding me of what was due, and each time I promised myself I would fix it before the next reminder came. But the day she stood at my door with that notebook, I knew the patience she had inherited from her father was reaching its limit. What she didn't know was that I had been working non-stop, taking any small repair job I could find, fixing old radios, broken lamps, even children's bicycles, but nothing seemed to stick. What she also didn't know was that during those months, I had watched her quietly carry groceries for an elderly tenant, sit with a crying single mother on the front steps, and shovel snow for apartments that weren't even hers to worry about. She was strong, but she was tired, and in that moment, as shame burned my face, something inside me shifted. I realized this wasn't just about rent. It was about two people carrying more than they admitted. That night, instead of spiraling into panic, I made a decision that scared me more than eviction ever could. I started cleaning the building's neglected basement, sorting through years of forgotten junk, repairing broken lights, fixing the ancient boiler that everyone complained about but no one touched. I didn't announce it. I didn't ask permission. I just did it, because it was the only way I knew how to give value when my wallet was empty. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, the building began to feel different. The hall lights stopped flickering. The front door stopped sticking. The old man on the third floor stopped complaining about cold radiators. Emily noticed, of course. She noticed everything. At first, she seemed suspicious, then curious, and eventually quietly appreciative, though she never said it out loud. As winter crept in, my situation didn't magically improve, but something else did. Emily and I started crossing paths more often, sometimes in the stairwell, sometimes in the laundry room, sharing tired smiles, exchanging a few words about repairs or tenants. I learned about her father, about how he worked himself into the ground to keep the building running, about how she promised herself she would never let it fall apart or become heartless under her care. She learned about my failed business, about how fixing broken things was the only way I knew how to feel useful. Neither of us talked about rent anymore, but it hung between us like unfinished business, waiting. The real test came one evening when a pipe burst on the second floor, flooding two apartments and sending tenants into panic. Emily arrived breathless, coat half-buttoned, clearly overwhelmed, and without thinking, I stepped in, coordinating temporary fixes, calming people down, working through the night until the water stopped and damage was contained. By morning, we were both exhausted, sitting on the cold stairs, surrounded by silence and the faint hum of pipes behaving again. In that quiet moment, something unspoken settled between us, an understanding that value doesn't always come in envelopes or bank transfers, but in showing up when everything is breaking. From that point on, things slowly changed. Emily officially offered me a role as building maintenance, modestly paid but steady, deducting part of my earnings toward the rent I owed. It wasn't charity. It was trust. I threw myself into the work, not just to pay what I owed, but because the building had become more than shelter. It became purpose. Tenants started thanking me. Kids waved at me in the hallway. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen. And Emily, once guarded and distant, began to laugh more, to lean on me when decisions felt heavy, to share coffee on the front steps after long days. Months passed, and my debt disappeared quietly, replaced by something neither of us had planned. Respect turned into friendship, friendship into something warmer, something careful and real. There was no dramatic confession, no sudden moment of realization, just two people slowly choosing each other in small, ordinary ways. I fixed broken doors. She trusted me with keys. I listened when she talked about pressure. She believed in me when I doubted myself. And somewhere along the way, the question I once asked myself about offering something better than money answered itself. What I offered was reliability, loyalty, effort, and heart, and in return, I was given stability, dignity, and a chance to start again. On the anniversary of the day she first stood at my door with that notebook, we stood together in the building courtyard, watching tenants decorate a small tree for the holidays. Emily squeezed my hand, pride and warmth in her eyes, and I realized how close I had come to losing everything simply because I was afraid to be honest about my worth beyond a paycheck. Life doesn't always ask for what we expect. Sometimes it asks who we are willing to be when we have nothing left to give but ourselves. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness and effort can change lives, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe, because your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need hope. And before this story ends, I'd love for you to comment below and tell us what part of this journey resonated with you the most, because your words matter more than you know. In the end, I never became rich, and Emily never stopped being careful, but together we built something stronger than transactions, something rooted in trust and second chances. And every time I walk past that apartment door where my fear once lived, I'm reminded that sometimes, when someone asks you for what you owe, life is quietly giving you a chance to discover what you're truly worth.